Hello everybody and welcome to the JMC Cast. This is the Joseph and Michael cast. Today we are joined by Noah. Say hello, Noah.
Hello, Noah.
And of course my fellow compatriot, or whatever, Michael.
I think it's pronounced compatriot, but whatever.
Compatriot. I'm sorry, I've had a few drinks, so yeah. Well, that's what you get for recording on a Sunday, I guess.
What a bad boy.
Anyway.
Rebellious.
Yeah, I know. Noah, how's your week been?
It's been good, thank you, Joe. I've been out on a walk with my grandparents' dog today, which is quite nice in the sun.
Nice.
I'm not really doing much else, to be honest. Year
Okay.
11 life, no work to be done.
No work,
No,
yeah.
You've got it easy, haven't you?
Well, I've got a bit of transition work, but that's about it.
Could be a lot worse.
And yeah.
Certainly could.
And Michael, how has your week been?
Yeah, I haven't done. Trying to think, have I done anything especially interesting? Not particularly. I finally finished reading the Dune books after starting about a year ago, I think. Might be more actually.
No, it was more than a year ago because like 2 years ago you got me to bring you God Emperor, I
Yeah,
think.
it probably was about 2 years ago actually. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, so I finally finished the series and it ends on a cliffhanger because Frank Herbert died before writing the last installment. So that's kind of underwhelming, but they're still worth reading.
Yeah.
I feel like we should do an episode about it sometime.
We should.
Maybe talk about the David Lynch movie and the sci-fi mini-series adaptation, because I want to watch that.
Yeah, well, we can do the David Lynch on a future Crap Week. And speaking of Crap Week, this week is Crap Week. We've started this new thing where every few weeks we will review 2 utterly crap films. They can be foreign, they can be American, they can be English, they can be whatever your sauce, G. But yeah, 2 crap films, here we go.
One is intentionally bad, one is bad without realising it.
Yeah, Noah, hit the coin. Or flip
Okay,
it.
so are we saying heads for Fateful Findings, tails for Velocipastor?
Alright.
Yes.
Okay. And it's heads.
Fateful Findings.
Fateful Findings. What a film.
Alright, so I chose this one, and I've been meaning to watch it for years because I know Neil Breen by reputation.
Oh, you bad boy.
So it's a little exercise. Can either of you tell me what the plot of the movie was?
No.
Well, the thing about this is it tries to have multiple plots that aren't connected to each other, and they're all happening to the same person.
Yeah. Didn't
And there's a mushroom that disappears.
wrap up what... okay, spoilers.
Hey, we're going full spoilers
Yeah,
from the
full
start.
spoilers from the start.
I'm just going to say as well, with these movies, I especially recommend watching them yourself because they are both pretty funny. So
Honestly, Fateful Findings, I was starting to get sick of it by the end. It just went on for so long, and then at the end, you know, the whole so there's like the sort of wispy ghost thing that.
Yeah, what was up with that?
what was?
I have no idea what the wispy ghost thing means or represents or anything. The film just doesn't explain it.
You know,
It's just some invisible guy vaping.
that's it. That's got to be it. Here's my one thought of the whole thing. And that was, this Neil Breen fellow is, he's getting on a bit. He clearly just wanted some younger ladies that he could get involved with, shall we say, because that seemed to be all that went on, really.
You think about it, so the plot is supposed to be like Neil Breen's character and the girl he was friends with as a kid find the magic rock, and then she leaves, and they're both, I think they're both like 9 at the time, but yet in the quote-unquote modern-day segment, Neil Breen is obviously about 20 years older than the actress playing the other girl. Also, it's 2020, he's using... no, not 2020, 2012, and he's using like an LG flip phone.
Yeah, clearly the budget wasn't huge there. But
Somehow I don't think
they
so.
did have a big budget for his computers and laptops, though. That he just took everything
Yes, he
out
just
of them.
smashed them.
Smashed everything.
And then they have like sexually charged hugs and ripping each other's clothes in the most awkward manner possible.
Yeah.
I love that scene because it's like they're passionately staring at each other and randomly ripping clothes, and then they'll just stop so he can pick up more papers or another laptop and throw it in the air.
Like, this
Seriously,
guy, he's a writer. How the fuck can he afford, like, how many computers does he smash? Like, 4? How does he afford
Every
this?
scene in his study he smashes a laptop.
On the books as well.
Or he throws books around, or...
Oh yeah, he picks up his coffee and then it sort of knows he's going to faint, so then tries to take a drink of the coffee.
Yeah.
It's like it quivers, he sets it down, and then it just falls over, and he just lies in it moaning for about 30 straight seconds.
I think what we can all agree on is that Neil Breen is not the best actor.
Not the best actor. I don't think I saw a smile or any facial expressions throughout the whole thing.
I think everything is just monotone from him.
Yeah. I found the best actors were the older people, the two therapists. I thought they did the best job of trying to...
And even then it wasn't the best.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but think about it. They were trying to get something out of whatever this man had written for them.
I mean, what was going on with the second therapist, like the old lady, whose office apparently is just like a bare-walled room with 2 metal folding chairs, and then she just like fades away?
Yeah, that happened too.
I was wondering that as well. And why does he have to lie to his other therapist?
Yeah, so...
And why does he need a second therapist? Is it she like some sort of to therapize his magicness or something?
Yeah, like was she to do with the stone? Was she a figment of his imagination, or what? She seemed to be giving like spiritual guidance or something.
I think
like, in regards to his magic.
I think the male guy was general therapy for something that he was taking the medication for, even though he wasn't taking it, and his girlfriend was sort of just getting a hit off it.
Fishing it out of the toilet.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was awful. But then the woman one, maybe she was conjured by the stone. That's an interesting thought.
Actually, now you've reminded me. They never say why he's actually like what he's got medication for. They just constantly refer to him needing to take his meds.
Obviously, this is supposed to be open-ended for you to philosophize about, just like Stalker.
Or he just didn't tie it up. Well, actually, his girlfriend, the one with the foreign-sounding accent.
She was Polish-Israeli.
Yeah, she was. I think she was saying something about how he needs to keep going. So I think maybe he's lied about something just to get the medication for her, because she seemed to be telling him not to stop because she wanted the medication, not for him.
But at the same time, when he finds out she's been like stealing it all, he gets really annoyed at her and his monotone voice.
As annoyed as he could possibly sound without making any sort of facial expression. I'm reading my notes here, and one of them sounds a bit like Stephen Hawking.
I feel to get the best idea of this, if you're listening, just go on YouTube and search up the "I can't believe you committed suicide" clip.
Yes.
That just the whole scene is glorious.
Let me try and find my note on that. I know I wrote one down.
From the beginning of when the drugs are introduced, I wrote in my notes, "Is she gonna OD?" And then like straight after, it's like. When in my notes after she OD'd, it was like, yeah, it seems like I was right.
She overdoses because she's guilty because she thinks she made Neil Breen's friend kill himself, even though his suicide was faked by his wife.
Yeah, badly faked, but no one figured it out.
Yeah, like so. I love the fact that she shoots him and he's like facing her, but then he's lying on the ground with a bullet wound in the side of his head, despite the fact. And then she drops the gun just like in front of him, closer to where his right hand would be, but it's on the left side of it
was definitely him. There's no doubt about the fact that
also
it wasn't her.
The fact that plot line isn't tied up.
No,
like
none of the plots are tied up. It just sort of ends.
Except the computer hacker one.
Oh yeah, we should get to that later. The last we hear of it, it's like the daughter tells Neil Breen that it wasn't a suicide and implies that the police are onto her mum. And then we never see her again. It's never resolved. We don't actually find out what happened.
Yeah.
Speaking of the daughter, can we talk about the really weird shit between the daughter and Neil Breen?
Yeah, that was another... There's about 5 plot lines that he's sort of tried to... He's what has happened is he's tried to put too much into a short space of time, and it never fully gets finished, really.
Yeah,
the way it read to me was that he had a bunch of sexual fantasies and he all wrote them down in a notebook and put them into one film, but he couldn't make it X-rated, so he had to make this.
There's a lot of like almost but not quite nudity, I notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, although there was that one scene where they were kind of, or it was like a shot where Neil Breen and that woman were just kind of naked, huddling into one another, and it was like, what?
I think that was like that was the stone connecting them, I guess, in his dreams. Maybe
I think
that's what the
was
meds were
supposed to be.
for.
He keeps having visions of him naked, curled up in a room lined with bin bags, and then she's there, and I think that's supposed to be like the connection between him and her through the stone.
It was a bit like a B-Tech, like Stranger Things kind of vibe when when Eleven goes into but just not very well done.
And then he's also able to use the stone to walk through walls, apparently.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the whole, and also, who was the man? You know where you just see foot, like his shoes. Who was that man?
Yeah. What was that?
I was assuming by the end, like, I thought, like, right at the end when he's walking off with the woman and he looks behind himself for a second, I was assuming he was going to see, like, the guy in the suit whose legs we saw and it was going to be him or something. But they just don't explain what it is. Like, what's the deal with, like, he's sleeping and we just see these legs walking around in his house as, like, random objects shake and the weird blue thing appears on screen and then he wakes up?
From the start... Yeah. There's like the opening shots with the music, and they're going through some sort of allotment, like the kind of thing you'd see on those programs where they've got a big man with some bolt cutters, and they open up random people's storages to sell it off. It's that kind of place.
Yeah.
And then
there's something I want to say about that.
Yeah.
It looks like, for the shots where it's going up to the weird book that looks like a box, it looks like they've used an office chair as a dolly.
Probably.
They probably have.
I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest.
Oh, God.
I mean, it's a good little hack, seeing as clearly they spent all their money on 5,000 laptops for the man to break.
I reckon he must have found like a Craigslist listing for a bunch of old. They must be. I assume they're all broken because the screens are never on.
Yeah, and you never actually see him typing properly. He's properly like smashing the keyboards with his fingers.
2 scenes where you see him typing, and if I recall, in one of them, the typing sound effects are actually out of sync with his movements. And if you pay attention, you can see the sound continues even after his hands have stopped moving for like a couple seconds.
Oh God!
That was it. The other thing about the sound, one bit I noticed was, so you know when they're at the pool party. And the whole scene, they've got like ambient party noise.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's thousands of people there.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be a house party, but there's only half a dozen people. But there's a bit I noticed there where the Neil Breen's wife is like talking to the secret love doctor or whatever, and says something like, "Oh, you're the doctor from the hospital," and she responds and says like, "Yeah, this is my fiance." And then they cut to like the wide shot where we see them standing away. And we can't hear any of their dialogue. And Neil Breen walks up to them, and they dub in the same 2 lines, like exactly. And it's really obvious because it's the only audible thing they say. I can only assume like it was intended that you wouldn't hear the dialogue, but then they thought it would be too confusing, so they edited it in afterwards.
Oh God!
I had to rewind just to make sure that I had heard the exact same thing twice.
I just assumed it was like some sort of accident, and I was like, what the hell?
Who knows? From the very start...
Oh, we're talking about the scene when they're kids, that god-awful child acting.
Oh, no. I honestly, I thought those kids were probably the best actors in the whole film.
By child actor standards, they weren't doing too badly.
But can we talk about how weird that scene was? Like,
it's a beautiful day.
Yeah, like literally she just writes it in her book in fancy thing and then just says it over the top in like it's a beautiful day. Like,
but I think the fact that, by the looks of it, that's the only thing that's been written in that notebook. And then she just keeps it with her at all times for the rest of her life until she happens to run into Neil Breen and drops it. And when she drops it, her phone just like makes 2 beeping noises. And then she seems like she's answering it, but maybe she isn't. And
oh, I didn't pick up on that. I was talking more about the where Neil gets hit by the car.
Oh, that was hilarious.
The Rolls Royce. So I'm not sure how they did the shot. I think what they had done was they had him crouching next to the car and then spun the camera past so it looked like a car had hit him. That's what I thought happened. And then he's lying on the floor, and his only injury is sort of a face scab. And then there's just a load of useless people standing around as witnesses. Like, there's one, delivering bad lines. Yeah. So one guy goes, "Call 911, call 911. Do it yourself then, mate." The other...
Yeah, and all the time his wife is over the phone saying, "Dylan, talk to me,
Oh,
talk
that
to me,
was starting to
Dylan,
annoy me.
Dylan, talk to me, Dylan."
Like, especially because the way that bit is framed, where we see Neil Breen on the ground, we see all of the spectators' legs. Then each time one of them says a line, it cuts to them shown from like a low angle, looking upwards, and it's just them in frame as they say their dialogue. It's so weird.
One of the people goes, "Is he dead?" As he's clearly like moving around, and then finally the other one was like, "It was the Rolls Royce that did it. I'm a witness."
Like,
When
no
there's,
shit.
I know there's blood all over the front of the Rolls Royce and on this man's face.
I also love the fact that when the Rolls Royce grinds to a halt, we see like the wheels stop, and it somehow manages to stop, so like the RR logo is perfectly upright.
It's all just one big Rolls Royce advert.
And then but then they load him onto like the bed to take him away to a hospital or whatever. But the paramedic guy like obviously puts the oxygen mask on like wrong. Like it's sort of it's like propped up on his nose, and then I think he sort of tries to fix it and gives up and just wheels him away.
Well,
and then so go on.
I'm just being picky here, but the man's been hit in the head with a car. You know, why wasn't there any like neck braces or anything going on here?
You'd think they'd be careful not to move his neck. But of course, then when he is in the hospital,
You'd think the set dressers should have done some sort of research, and the costume
sure the set dresser
people.
was Neil Breen.
Everything was Neil Breen. In the credits.
You saw the thing in the credits, didn't you?
Yeah, and
About
it went through. It listed all the things, and it was naming like random companies, and at the end it said, actually, all of these were just Neil Breen.
Every company with N or B in the name was Neil Breen.
So why are you doing that?
I mean, you think he just... I mean, I guess you don't want to see his name in the credits too much, considering he seems to have written, produced, directed, costume design, set design, starred in. He did the on-set food and the lighting. He's basically done the whole thing himself, pretty much.
He filmed it as well.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
He did it all. You know, he threw the camera up and got the shot, and
I mean, I don't think it says what the budget is, but I'll see if I can find it. So I am kind of curious, honestly. It must have been low.
Okay, so at the time of this writing, Breen has only been able to raise $1,400 of his projected $50,000 budget for the film. So,
Crikey.
Yeah, the Wikipedia doesn't list a budget, but
how much is Neil Breen worth? Estimated worth? 1 to 5 million?
I mean, apparently he was like an architect, and I assume he must have made a fair bit of money and then retired or whatever and started spending it on this. But he's definitely not worth like $1 million, surely.
Well, apparently so.
I mean, I think this movie had a lower budget than Velocipastor, considering that the hospital was quite obviously just a room in his house.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at his other films, and the front cover has the same picture of his face on in all of them. There isn't it.
What's Neil Breen?
It's all just Neil Breen, but also it's the same photo.
Everything is Neil Breen.
Search up Neil Breen.
Obviously,
movies.
they got him at a good angle in that photograph, and he
Clearly.
just wants to keep
That's
on using it.
That's the only one he wants.
I mean, the movie posters are works of art in themselves, aside from the films.
I am here now.
Hopefully, I do think we'll probably end up doing these other movies at some point, considering how good this one was.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was really getting bored when I saw the time of 1 hour and 40. I was like, oh, good heavens, this is gonna take.
Yeah, I spaced out for most of it, to be honest. I was just like,
the bit
God.
where the bit that really stood out to me is, you know, towards the end when she gets like kidnapped by the goon, whose reasons or motivations are never explained. But I assume that it's like,
I assumed they worked for the government or something.
like the government conspiracy are onto him and they're trying to target him or whatever. And he's walking into the house, talking on the phone, saying that he's walking up the drive towards the house.
No one hears that.
Notices
Yeah.
the fact that she's gone, and then apparently she isn't on the other side. So like, and he keeps telling her to pick up, and so
Who's he talking to?
Yeah, it's not clear. Like, either one, she's on the other end of the phone and is saying nothing and he's just talking and hasn't noticed. 2, he's leaving a message but expecting her to answer him. Or he's talking while the phone is still ringing.
Well, here's, at the time of filming, he was in his 50s, so, he might not have known how to work a voicemail.
Also, why the hell is he calling her to tell him he's coming up the drive into the house which he assumes she is in?
Who knows? There are a lot of continuity issues, I thought. Like, for example, I've written down in my notes, one point when he's at the therapist, the male therapist, is offering him the meds. So it has a shot of the therapist with just him leaning on the table, back to Neil, back to the therapist, and magically there's just a laptop and medication has teleported in front of him, but the frame hasn't changed, so it's just sort of appeared, and he picks up the meds and tosses them across the table.
Yeah, there's
It's paranormal, Noah. He's a paranormal hacker. He can do this stuff.
He's hacking the government
and his therapist.
Yeah, the fact that his the therapist's office is a meeting room apparently, and they just sit at opposite ends of the table. I can only assume he rented the room for a day to film those scenes in, because that was the best he could get.
Probably.
I believe the pool is just from Neil Breen's house, because apparently it shows up in one of his other movies as well. I'm trying to think what else. Also, the fact
to be fair, if he's an architect, he did design a really nice back garden, so props to him for that.
Yeah, it's not bad, to be fair.
The end scene where he's exposing everyone. I was really confused.
Now we all have truths. Yeah. The real truths.
But the people were just the people who he was exposing were watching and cheering, and then it'd cut to random scenes of them just killing themselves. I was like, what is...
He holds up a pen drive or whatever, and then every single one of the corrupt politicians and businessmen publicly confesses their crimes and then just kills themselves with no prompting.
One of the women literally just sat in her car and died.
Yeah, I think what they're supposed to showing is that she's left the engine running and died by carbon monoxide poisoning. But
you'd have to put a pipe from the exhaust into the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Paranormal powers.
She didn't shoot her. She just sort of sat down and oh right, I've been exposed. Better just go and die.
No, my favourite the guy who just says I am the president of the bank.
Yeah.
And admits his guilt.
Bank.
And then just stops, says nothing, and just puts a gun to his head.
Yeah.
And
oh god, it was so weird.
Also, I think the fact that what Neil Breen is exposing them for is never explained. It's just corruption,
just general,
and he's just hacking them to find the corruption, and it's just left at that.
And also, when he tells his girlfriend about the corrupt that he's hacking, he tells her at one point, and then only the second time he tells her does she sort of clock what's going on and has a freak out.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that he told her and she seemed fine, and then he tells her again, and then she goes off on one about it. And I was thinking, but do you not remember just before when he told you and you didn't?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird cases where they'll cut from a scene with there's a couple of times where they'll have Neil Breen and his wife talking or whatever in the living room, and then it cuts to the office where they're both in there as well, and it's clearly intended to show some time has passed, but it doesn't feel like it has. And again, the amount of scenes which just seem to consist of he's sitting at his desk, she comes in, says something angry, and then he ends up throwing a laptop across the room for whatever reason.
There's two. It's if a scene starts and he's in his office, one of two things is going to happen. Either she's going to come in and they'll just tear up clothes, or he'll throw a laptop or a book across the room.
It's amazing he gets any work done. He destroys all his computers.
Breaks everything.
It's amazing he even has any money. It's made clear that he doesn't do any work.
On
so
the
how does he have all this
of
shit?
His money actually as well. They keep talking about the previous book he wrote, but they never say anything about it. It's not clear if it was fiction or non-fiction or what the title was or anything. It's just they keep saying, "Oh yeah, you wrote that book and it was really successful, but now your second one isn't doing so well." Yeah, like he has those arguments with the publishers that you never see on the phone.
Oh yeah,
and
that
you just see him
person who's
talking
just
to.
yelling, "Don't phone me again! Never phone this number again."
I'm not interested.
I assumed that the first therapist was his boss
I don't.
until he said, "Are you seeing other therapists?" And I was like, "Oh, that's not his boss." But like,
he's not very therapist-ish for a therapist. He's basically just asking him why he isn't working and then pushing more meds on him.
That he was cheating on him with another therapist. I'm your therapist. How could you go to another one?
indeed.
One bit that especially stood out to me, I'm just thinking random thoughts here, isn't related, is when the daughter who is for some reason trying to seduce Neil Breen, I think that's what's going on.
I mean, who wouldn't want to? Let's be honest,
Yeah,
lads.
who wouldn't? And she is in the bathroom, takes off her towel, and Neil Breen thinks that his wife's come in, and he walks in, and it's just an expression.
That was the
Because,
most. That was the most of a facial expression he did in the whole
his
film.
eyes just bulge open, and nothing else about his face changes.
And then he just picks it up and puts it back on her.
I feel like that whole thing with that character was, and I especially noticed this, the first dinner scene where they're all sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Oh, with the ridiculous conversations. Like, I was thinking, seriously, has a child written this and they're bringing it to life or something?
The bit with that, again, the daughter character, she delivers her lines like she was a porn
I
actress
originally
in that
thought
scene.
all the female actresses were porn actresses, and I thought, oh, this is just him having some weird fun.
I mean, that
This is just Neil
scene's-
wanting to hire a load of attractive young women.
that's pretty much what he did.
And I want to know this as well, how old is that character supposed to be, right? Because...
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. She must be over 18, but is portraying a 16-year-old maybe, or 17?
She's obviously an adult. But that dinner table scene, she talks about having to write a school report about elephants in Africa, which is the kind of thing this is Americans, an elementary school student or middle school student would do. But she's clearly supposed to be an older teenager.
Well, he doesn't. Obviously, Neil Breen was never a teenager, so he can't know.
I like to imagine Neil Breen did just emerge as he is now, fully formed.
She wants some of the Breen machine.
Immaculate
and
Conception.
The Breen machine ain't gonna start unless you're in the bath, so she's gotta get in the bath.
So
Thinking about her as well, the bit where she finds her dead dad and struggles with her mum to try and get to the body just kills me every time I see it.
yeah, she wasn't very good at the facial expression thing either, really.
She's like Neil Breen, just blank face for most of the film.
Again, with the
I
actresses,
wonder whose Ferrari he borrowed for
the
that
only
scene.
actress that I know is going to be in something else is the woman who played his childhood best friend growing up. And she's going to be in the live-action adaptation of Bleach. And I don't know if a live-action anime adaptation is any better, really.
I looked her up as well, and it seems like most of what she does now, at least, is public speaking and conferences and stuff. I think she works in publicity or something. I looked up the daughter actress as well, and she's just a minor sort of background extra kind of actor.
She was probably one of his friend's daughters, and he just said, "Do you want
Oh
to be
god,
in this
don't
film
say
for
that,
the
Noah, that
money?"
makes it more creepy.
I have to assume that most of the people in this movie are people that Neil Breen knew or were friends of friends. What I said earlier, what I want to know is who he borrowed that Ferrari from.
Yeah.
Is that his car, or is he having a friend who has a Ferrari?
He can't even afford a proper phone.
Yeah, he's using that weird LG flip phone that looks like a DS. I don't know, there's him on the phone. I mean, obviously Neil Breen can't be that out of touch with technology because he is, after all, hacking the government and the corporations to find the... What's the bit where he says, I've been finding the most secret government and corporate secrets?
As opposed to the sort of not as secret government secret.
I swear if I'm remembering correctly, that's literally the line. He basically says the secrets at one point. It's obviously the masterful dialogue writing. It's exactly what you'd expect.
He is a genius of the script. He is Shakespeare 2.0.
Dare I say it, a Brenius.
Oh dear.
Oh, Michael, you little
There are so many
scamp.
puns you can make with his name, though. Seriously.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Please don't make them.
Maybe when he made this film, he only had to wish upon a Breenie.
Oh my gosh. I think we should move on after that.
He's a real real human
Does everyone
breed.
have like their general thoughts?
I do have one more question
Alright,
before we finish with this. What do you think the book on the pedestal was supposed to be?
who knows?
Because I've been thinking about this and I have no idea.
Evidently, it is a book of all the people Neil Breen has ever slept with, and that's why it's so thick.
Like, is it associated with the magic stone, or
I
what's
think
going on
it was
there?
associated with the magicness.
Yeah.
Because
Weird
it
vague
did sort of
cloud.
appear and phase away.
Yeah, because he goes out into the desert to see it, and there's also like 3 guys in suits that are standing there, and then they fade away as well.
He really didn't
Yeah.
explain things very well.
I'm sure it all makes sense to him.
Yeah, probably. He probably had a great idea in his head, but then putting it down on paper was
It was shit.
that.
It's worth noting as well that pretty much all of his movies, he always seems to play like characters with like messianic or magical powers.
Right.
I think in I Am Here Now, he's some sort of space Jesus, if I recall correctly. It's
Oh, I need to watch that.
I think the others definitely seem worth watching. I think there's about
Yeah.
5 of them. But anyway, yeah.
the
final thoughts.
whole. I just want to talk about the amount of blood when he has the shower. Like it look.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that
he's
was
only
impressive.
he's healed up mostly, and then there's just blood pouring onto the shower
Hemorrhaged
floor.
liters out
and then
of
he-
his face.
Did
Yeah.
did he just like walk home from the hospital?
I think so.
Yeah, after
He just
the
wandered out the
pipes came
hospital
out
and
of his
left.
wrists that weren't actually inside his
Yeah,
wrists.
he
They
pulled
were
off just
on-
some tubes that were stuck to his wrists, and
Yeah,
then
and he's got the face mask, like the breathing mask on, even though it's over the bandages which are covering his mouth.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pointless. And and then the doctor comes back, like the childhood love doctor, and it's just like, your patient's disappeared because apparently
Yeah.
nobody checked on him until then.
And then he goes home and has some post-coma coitus, which
While
is
bleeding everywhere.
obviously, bleeding everywhere.
One thing you can
Could
say
be
actually is
worse.
the blood often did look decent
Yeah,
enough.
well, yeah, it wasn't that bad, to be fair. So
Credit where it-
my I've got 5 bullet points for general thoughts. First one, it was very slow going. It really, they could have done with a bit more pace, and I just thought it was going quite slow. There were unnecessary bits, really. Second one,
Yeah.
every scene doesn't need to start with a slow pan of like the area, and it sort of pans in. It's an okay shot, but they literally did it for every scene. I was getting a bit bored of that. Third point, no one seems to wear bras at all in the whole film.
I noticed that in a couple of scenes. I was thinking, is that a deliberate directorial choice, or
It was probably Neil.
Obviously,
That's probably
it's
what Neil
gets the
Breen
green machine
wanted.
going.
he did do the costuming, so
And then he sort of comes into that he just wanted to kiss a load of younger girls.
actually, now I think about it, pretty much all of the female characters seem to wear the same outfit of a tank top and jeans.
Basically, yeah, just some sort of general colour. Yeah,
Either that or he's just reusing clothes between scenes.
probably just dyeing them for each different person. And then finally,
They're the only clothes he can afford because he spent all the money on laptops.
all the money on laptop. And finally, just
Yeah.
the whole ghost thing didn't really get explained, but none of it really got explained.
Yeah.
I feel like it just everything just needed wrapping up really, and it didn't.
Very unsatisfying ending, because it just sort of stops. What do you think, Joseph?
Oh, yes, of course. Well, the last note I made on here was, well, that was shit. So that probably sums up my ideas quite a bit.
That was the message that I sent to you, wasn't it? After watching it.
Yeah, I think so. But, like, it had too many ideas and it tried to juggle them whilst paying attention to none of them. Like, you could either go with a romance story about, like, finding your childhood love. You could go with a supernatural thriller. Or you could go with a story about someone hacking the government. You shouldn't really go with all 3, especially if you're going to do a half-arsed job with all 3. And, like, the effects, like, I could do better effects. Like, I have done better effects than some of this shit. Especially these silly suicides. Like, what? And I think the whole scene where his love gets kidnapped and then is tied up, that could just been cut out. I mean, like, if I'm tied up, I don't want to see Neil Breen taking off my gag and blindfold.
Well, yeah, but how is he going to demonstrate that he can use the stone to walk through doors then? I assume that's what that was for, is to show, like, the magic that it gave him. Maybe it's to do with love or something.
Probably the power of love. And like, I would also get rid of that weird thing of the sniper trying to kill him and then the sniper falls dead.
Yeah, random.
And it's like, go down, Mr. Breen, he's got a gun. And it's just like, no, shut up. Just shut
that
the
was
fuck
one
up.
of the, for me, that was one of the funniest moments of the film, because you see the sniper and then it cuts back to Neil Breen and it's the same shot as before, but there's just like a clip art of a scope like over him.
Oh, the green screen here was terrible, awful.
Was he meant to be outside the White House? Was that what that was?
I'm not sure.
Because I sort of thought that, and I thought, surely not.
I think Neil Breen's just never seen the White House, and he's just assuming that that's what the White House looks
I think
like.
it might have been supposed to be the White House. Obviously isn't, but...
Michael, what are you...
So,
Do you have,
Okay,
do you have
I
anything
thought-
else to
I thought-
say, or...
No. Oh, Noah, what would you give it out of 10?
Say it again.
Out of 10, what would you give it?
Out of 10, what would I give it? 1.
1, okay. I'd have to give it a
0.
3.2.
Really? I was just waiting for it to finish.
How did that earn 3 out of 10?
Okay, let's go with 2.5.
Oh, that's like your opinion. Personally, it's a 1 out of 10 as a movie. It's a 10 out of 10 as entertainment.
Did you actually get entertained by it? Really?
Yeah, this is one of the funniest things I've seen all year. It's so awful and it's hilarious. And I certainly think if you get like a few drinks and some friends and sit down and watch some Neil Breen, you're gonna have a good evening.
Obviously, we need to do that at the next sleepover.
I think there's a drinking game actually, which is like some like drink every time Neil Breen destroys a laptop. Drink every time Neil Breen drives out in the desert, because there's a bunch of stuff that recurs in his movies. But yeah, like, it's a terrible, terrible film in every sense, but I did really enjoy watching it. So it'd still be a 1 out of 10 objectively, but personal opinion, I did enjoy it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm having to give it a 2.5 out of 10 because I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Stalker, and I gave that a 2. So yeah,
I mean, that's just like your taste, which
yeah,
I can't exactly
my taste.
criticise because film is subjective, but
It is. Yeah. Before we move on to the next film, I would like to ask any viewers to like, subscribe, turn notifications on, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's get right into Velocipastor. I loved this film. This was hilarious.
oh yes.
Just to clarify, it's
Brilliant.
not Velociraptor and pasta as in the food. It's a Catholic priest.
I think is he supposed to be Catholic? It's never quite made clear. I mean,
I thought he was kind of like Lutheran.
Well, Catholics do confession, don't they? And he went to confession, didn't he?
I think one of the main kind of things was it was supposed to be a generic Christian thing. They had
Yeah.
aspects from a bunch of different types of Christianity.
according to the credits, they filmed it in a Methodist church, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's Catholics aren't the only ones to do confession, but it doesn't really matter what kind of priest he is because
He is a priest, and then sort of stopped becoming a priest.
because he is instead turning into a dinosaur.
A Velociraptor. Well,
Best kind, really. I don't know. I'm quite a sucker for a Spinosaurus.
Yeah, no, I can. That's a legitimate opinion, to be fair. But no, God, I love this. Like, just about an hour, and a bit over an hour of just pure brilliance. Yeah, it's kept it short,
Yeah.
but
Short and sweet.
Yeah, apparently there's a budget of about $30,000.
Nice.
I believe the director originally based the whole movie on the pun of Velocipastor, which he thought up and noted down one
he
day.
put it into his phone and then it autocorrected to Velocipastor. And then he made a trailer when he was in film school, and then some company was like, "This looks fucking hilarious," and then they made a film of it.
He made a trailer, and then I think he attempted to crowdsource it and failed, but some family friend was willing to invest the money into it to make it happen, and thank God they did, because it was great.
Yeah, I think this is definitely in the kind of spirit of Black Dynamite and Airplane.
Oh yeah, this is. I feel like this is different to Fateful Findings because this is deliberately bad.
Yeah,
it knows it's stupid
they
and rubbish.
accepted the badness.
Yeah, it's embraced it, and it's.
I'd say it's not as good as Airplane, obviously, but I preferred it to Black Dynamite, which might be quite a controversial opinion.
Personally, I mean, obviously, Airplane is such a high bar for parody that it's basically impossible to meet. Personally, I prefer Black Dynamite, but I just love that movie. But this was still really funny.
You sort of realise that they're embracing it in the first 5 minutes, would you
Oh
say?
yeah, Mum and Dad.
So yeah, another spoilers for anyone listening, but basically he runs outside and his parents get blown up.
And there's VFX of exploding car on fire.
Can you put on the screen like what it looks like? Can you do that?
Oh, that's a new thing. I'll do that.
Without getting
I'll do that.
copyrighted. Yeah, do that.
Yeah,
Because
I'll
there's
do
another point that I really want to say, which does move on past this a little bit. So he goes to China.
Oh,
Yeah, and he's like China, and then China is east.
But so you know how there's the whole like rock montage of him on the road and going through the jungle.
Yeah.
If you listen, I don't know if any of you noticed it, but at the very end when it's fading out, it does the little riff from Jurassic Park. They're like,
Yes, I noticed that. I really like that.
and I was like, hang on a minute, did I just mishear that? But no, I didn't. You can probably play that audio.
Oh, it's thematically appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, also the fact that China was quite obviously the same park where they filmed most of the other outdoor locations.
It's like going down to Central Park to film like an alien planet for everything. It's
I love the fact as well that he cuts himself on the tooth when he picks it up, despite the fact that it very obviously isn't sharp at all.
it's not even the point of the tooth.
I thought it like branded itself into him to turn him into the to.
I may have been wrong, but when I watched it, it looked like he picked it up, grabbed it too tight, and cut himself on the edge.
Okay, my
And
thoughts
then
were
it,
like that's how it transferred its power into you.
Yeah, like I think like it cuts you, and that's how you get like the power to turn into a dinosaur.
Right.
And apparently, I think one of the dialogue from the main villain implies that there were like loads of them at some point, but they've all been killed off. I think by the church, or at least the ninjas, and he's the last one.
Well, the ninja church that sells cocaine.
Oh,
That was
the whole.
that was the best. I'm gonna go to church and tell the rector about this, because that was the best idea for making people come to church ever. The conversion plan.
That whole scene is possibly my favourite part of the movie, because they save the Velocipastor's mentor, like despite the fact that we thought he'd been killed. Also the fact
I ripped out.
he wears the eye patch over his glasses as well, which is just funny. And then it turns out that then.
And
Sorry, go on.
I was kind of expecting there, is it going to turn out he was in cahoots with them? Because I thought, evil eye patch.
He's going to be in on it.
But no, he's decent chap.
And then it turns out that, and obviously the villain explains the plan, because of course he does, that they're manufacturing super cocaine that they're going to spread across the city, and then they'll cut off the supply, and all the drug addicts will go into rehab support groups and then start going to church.
That was such a master plan.
And then they'll manifest destiny all over the globe, a brand new era of Christianity.
And then he just kills Velocipastor's mentor anyway.
There was lots of
Just saying, infidel.
Yeah, like it makes you question what the point of even telling him the plan was.
because that's the classic. All evil geniuses have to tell you the plan.
Yeah.
It's straight out of Bond, isn't it? Also, the fact that. Sorry, I was going to say, out of all of the ninjas, he was very obviously the only one who was actually Asian.
Yeah, there was even an Australian one in there when he was
and
like telling the plans. The Australian
When the ninjas come in and he's in the forest, the first line he goes, "Crikey!" and I'm like, this guy's Australian. Like they couldn't have gone more stereotypical to have his first line as "Crikey." Like I like that.
Yeah. And then if you listen to the stuff that he's saying stuff like, right, you go left, you go right, you go from above, because I'm pretty sure velociraptors can't look upwards. It's just absolutely hilarious. While this random ninja is like thinking about the sad story of the woman he loved back home, and then he just gets killed.
Which was a story that didn't make much sense either.
The extent, like in the same vein, the extended flashback with the Velocipastor's mentor when he's in
that was my favourite bit of the film.
Apparently Vietnam.
Yeah, Vietnam that looks like England.
Yeah, it's basically the same park that they filmed the other bits in.
Probably was.
is his like lost love just shows up for some reason, then gets blown up in
And
front
then
of
steps
him.
on a Viet Cong mine.
It was some sort of trip mine, and then
What
she
was
just
doing
turns
here?
into
Oh, maybe
blood.
And then they're like, what was she doing here? Oh, maybe she was trying to start a family.
And he's just
That line had me howling with laughter the first time I watched it.
he just gets minced.
Yeah. No, there's not even any, like, viscera. It's literally just a fountain of blood, like in Ash vs. the Evil Dead. And it just
She
goes
did. She was running and then just
popped.
turned into liquid.
It's like that bit in what's my thing? You know that bit in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark where the guy gets shredded by the propeller.
Yes.
It makes me think of that, but no, the whole sequence is just so perfectly on point.
And then when the friend is like, name your kid after me, the guy who never got shot one time in the whole of the war, and then he just gets shot, and then he's like, Ollie!
That whole scene is amazing.
They just killed off everyone. They did not.
I love the
care.
fact that the medium guy just disappears from the movie after his like sort of cameo appearance.
Yeah. My dad, because I watched this twice, once on my own, once with my dad, my dad thought the medium guy was Ollie that got, like, brought back from the dead.
I thought that for a bit. They look quite similar.
I think they looked very similar. They could have been the same actor, to be fair. The on the topic of killing everyone off, in the very end, sort of like a boss fight, and his girlfriend and like the giant tall guy comes out with the sword
and she just doesn't move
and just slices her across the chest. I thought she was going to
I
die.
was under I was under the assumption she had died, so I was really confused when she came back.
And then he just screams,
after that,
Carol!
He screams that, goes over to her, and then in the background, the ninjas are like hugging each other and crying.
And they're crying. I thought that was hilarious.
I thought it was funny, but I was like,
Morning
why?
tea.
They've just killed her. Why now are they having a...
It kind of reminds me of like droids you see in the backgrounds of Revenge of the Sith, like the kind of weird shit they get up to.
I think that fight scene in general is great. One, because we actually get to see the Velociraptor in all its glory.
Oh yeah.
But also because if you do pay attention to the background, you can see that all the extras are just sort of awkwardly standing around watching and not actually fighting.
Yeah, and also you can see his girlfriend standing, like in a fighting video game, and you look at all the characters.
Yeah, I thought it was
she's
literally
standing
looked
sort
like
of
she was in a video game.
bobbing from side to side for the whole of his fight, just like ready for what? For just someone to go and slash her across the chest, even though she didn't even move.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
I think I feel like I was looking up to remember the name. We have to mention Frankie Mermaid.
Oh,
he was
Frankie! I was
he
about
my
to mention him
favourite
because he's the
character.
best character in the whole thing. They call him Frankie Mermaid because he's swimming in bitches. Yeah.
Best thing ever.
I thought it was going to be they call me Frankie Mermaid because I got that tail, which also would have worked, but
It's the fact that he only
swimming
has
in
like
bitches.
2 scenes and he steals the show. Particularly when he just talks about, what's the line where it's like, then
I know it. I pimp bitches, I do drugs, I sell drugs, and I murder people. It's like fucking brilliant quote.
It's like,
And then your priest friend, he was running out like I killed his parents, and he was like, Mom, Dad, you killed my parents. And I was like, who the fuck does he think? Like they were his actual parents? It's just like, oh my god.
And the one when he's talking to the main guy's girlfriend, I've forgotten his name. Doug, that's
Carol.
it. And then afterwards he shouts at one of his other prostitutes something about sandwiches and
If you put as many dicks in your mouth as you do sandwiches, I'd be a millionaire.
what's the one? I thought that was really good.
It's like this stereotypical over-the-top pimp character. I especially
and
love
like
the
underneath
fact
his
that
pimp hat, he's got his little pimp hairdo where it's like the most male paddle boarding thing, so it looks like Shakespeare
And
or
also
something.
how he tried reverse psychology on Doug, and it just didn't work. When he was in confession, he was like, "You might as well just kill me now," and then Doug just goes, "Okay," and just rips his throat out.
I love the fact as well that like he's got him by the Velociraptor arm, and Frankie like reveals that he didn't kill Doug's parents because he wants to, but he's working with orders from somebody higher up, And then they never resolve like who was
Which,
it.
as it turned out to be his brother.
They never actually explain it. I was assuming that like it was going to turn out that the ninjas, the church ninjas, were like it was part of the conspiracy to kill the Velocipastor's parents for some reason, but they never actually explain it.
I was thinking that they were actually going to be like some really bad criminal people that had a hit out on them or something like that.
Well, that is a good segue actually, because it turns out there is one sort of thing about his parents that's hidden until the big twist.
What, with his second brother?
Yes.
Oh god.
So they just didn't annoy. They ignore like, you're my only son, Doug, and then he's just standing there
Poor
with
kid.
the orange juice.
Did we ever find out what he actually did to deserve that? The shunning.
Well, he was just a shit child.
They just seem to neglect him. Honestly, I don't blame him for joining the bad guys. Like, if his parents had treated him like that.
And of course, the sword of your ancestors is also the sword of
Oh yeah,
my
and then
ancestors.
Doug randomly just uses the Force. Like, where did that come from?
He obviously
just
stole
summons
the move from Neil Breen because they are both paranormal fighters.
He's using like the magic rock from Fateful Findings to just use telekinesis and pull the sword to him.
Obviously, that's what the Velociraptor claw was. He's not actually turning into a Velociraptor. He's turning into what do you call it? Neil Breen's scaly fursona kind of thing.
Oh man, I didn't need to think about scalies.
Well, I think it's inevitable with this film, Michael.
Yeah, somebody's going to be into it.
Well, China is east.
Also, the scene where he kills the main like villain and rips his head off is
Yeah, with the obvious
perfect.
dummy with the massive eyebrows and the Gandhi quote.
Was that a dummy? I thought that was like his actual head. It was so well done. I couldn't tell.
I know, right? The effects works
Phenomenal.
I legit thought it was going to end there where it freeze framed on the quote about like non-violence as a solution. That was just going to be the end of the movie because that would have been perfect.
It would.
But we got more, which was
Yeah, and I'm also glad it was only about an hour and 10 because after watching Fateful Findings, I thought, good heavens, am I going to have to watch another like almost 2-hour film of rubbishness? But it was actually it was fast paced. There wasn't any unnecessary scenes, and it did get to the point.
I think it was really good for that because it was self-aware. They also knew to keep it brief and keep it snappy, and it works a lot better for the pacing.
If they'd tried to drag it out, it wouldn't have helped it.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have been as funny. I think if it outstayed its welcome.
The comedy would have gone like it's funny, and then it would have just kept on going, and it would have been like, okay, you've used that joke now.
Because I think this is definitely a good spoof, because there are some shite spoofs out there, like the scary movies and the disaster movies and all that shit I'm never going to watch. But this is genuinely good. It's a good film. And like I went into this thinking it was made by Tommy Wiseau because of the context I had a conversation with Noah with. And so I was like, I thought it was not self-aware, and I went into it thinking that, and then I found out afterwards that it was not by Tommy Wiseau. So I watched it again with my dad, and then it was a lot more enjoyable.
Interestingly as well, I've noted here on the Wikipedia page, the director Brendan Steer has said that he has written a sequel script and it is going to be filmed at some point. So we are going to get another one.
Let's hope this doesn't turn into Sharknado, because Sharknado was like a self-aware parody, and then there's like 10 of them now.
Oh gosh, that just went crazy.
I mean, if the formula works, right? But I do hope we get another one.
They set it up. They set it up for a sequel.
Well, he's just going to take down the entire church.
Yeah.
The sequel is just going to be him like ripping priests.
He's gonna go on like vigilante justice sort of thing. Hopefully there will be like there's going to be a bigger conspiracy that it's all been part of the whole time.
Or he's going to team up with some other dinosaur-related profession.
Or he's going to get a gang of ninja prostitutes. Ooh, that reminds me. How did this random prostitute have the ninja ability to beat up ninjas?
Yeah, she just pulls some crazy fighting skills out of nowhere.
Just when you said that when we were talking about ninja prostitutes, and you went, "Oop, that reminds us." Like, what could that possibly remind you? That reminds me. The other day,
when I was down at the local Sainsbury's, I saw this ninja prostitute. It was very pleasant.
Oh, there needs to be a film on its own. Ninja prostitute.
I'm pretty sure there is a film like that, but I don't think we'll be reviewing it on the cast.
No.
May not be entirely appropriate, funnily enough.
I thought, honestly, in these two films, I genuinely thought there were going to be some, more inappropriate moments, but they actually weren't, which surprised me.
They kept it family friendly.
Well, apart from the fact that
reminds me of that
Velocipastor
scene
was
where-
X-rated,
X-rated Velocipastor.
Oh,
Well, those
according to all Christian juries.
all Christian.
Oh yeah, that was great, that one, Joe.
I really liked the scene where it's after he's like killed someone as the Velociraptor, and there's like the kind of crossed wires where she's talking about him killing someone, and he thinks he's had sex with her, and he's like, "What do you
That
think
was
I'm talking about?"
that was really funny. I did like
Yeah,
that.
I like that. I mean, most of that's already in the trailer, but I still loved it. I thought it was
I didn't
great.
watch the trailer actually. I don't know if you've seen a YouTube channel called Dead Meat, which is
Oh yeah,
a
Dead
very
Meat.
good YouTube channel.
I stopped watching it
they-
because I want to watch the films myself beforehand.
Yeah, there was some I thought I'm probably never going to get around to that, but that channel is really good. But they did Velocipastor, and that's where I saw it from. But I didn't watch the whole thing just because I thought I may genuinely want to watch this.
And we are very thankful that you watched it because, hot damn, am I happy about this film.
Good. And also the fact that we know there's a sequel coming. Did it come out in, was it 2018 or
2019, I think.
Yeah.
2019? Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think it was released. It premiered in 2017, then it got a proper release in 2019.
Right, okay.
So, but yeah, apparently it's the sequel is in the works.
It's probably been shut down due to coronavirus.
Yes, sadly, we are going to have to wait. But then again, I mean, considering the probably very small cast and crew, it shouldn't be too hard
And
to
production
film.
time will be, they've
Quite quick.
that film they
Hopefully.
had like a one street scene. They probably filmed all their park scenes in a couple of days.
Yeah, I would reckon that movie was filmed in like a week.
Maybe a bit longer.
And also the church as well. They could have filmed all the church bits at once.
They probably got like the church for a day or two and did all those scenes, in one go, and then
One bit that like kind of caught me off guard was the guy who plays the mentor. He looks shockingly like my Scottish granddad. And so for like the whole thing, it just seemed like my Scottish granddad was now a priest who went to Vietnam, which he really isn't. And it's like, what the? And like, it's like, no, granddad! When like he gets killed by the ninja.
Oh no.
I love how when you think about it as well, like he's having a Vietnam flashback, which must mean he's like 70, but he only looks to be in his sort of 60s.
No, he's doing well, priest. Father Stewart.
And then in the flashback as well, he's exactly the same. He's just got dyed blonde hair and a mustache.
Oh, I thought it was like a shit wig.
It might have been a shit wig, honestly. I couldn't quite tell. Either is funny.
I did think it was a wig under his hat.
It probably was, actually.
His hat. But yeah, like there was lots of, oh my god, Frankie Mermaid. I would watch a spin-off of just Frankie Mermaid going around his daily life as like
a gritty prequel movie about his rise to power on the streets. Yeah, like The Godfather.
You never know, that could be what's inside the Snyder Cut. It's like 40 minutes of Frankie Mermaid.
When Doug's girlfriend, he's like, I killed Frankie Mermaid, and she's like, you killed Frankie Mermaid? The Frankie Mermaid? She's talking about him like he's some big guy in the pimp industry.
He's big in the pimping sector. She is in his employ, isn't she? And I don't think he knows that, so that's why she's all surprised about it. But I love the fact as well, she discovers he can turn into a dinosaur, and her immediate reaction is, you should use this to fight crime.
I mean, what would your reaction be?
I'll probably be a combination of confusion and sheer panic at the idea that somebody's turning into a dinosaur.
One of the best montages I've ever seen was in this film as well. When they sort of like undress kind of thing, and then it also has them like fighting the crime and stuff. I thought that was really good. With all like
was that the weirdly lit sex montage?
Yeah, that kind of thing. It was. I thought that was good. The way they'd done that.
I preferred the montage where he's like first starting to fight crime, and then you see him like rapidly scribbling down names in the notebook like he's light yogaming.
That's what that was, though. That was all included in that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one later on where there's like the weird purple lighting.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, and it was all that. Also, that
no,
was included.
There's two different sex scenes.
There are two different sex scenes, but I don't think there's only one montage sequence, if I recall.
No, there's two montages.
I thought there's only one montage all in one.
Yeah, it's like a combination, I think.
No, two montages.
Actually, he hits the streets fight crime.
You're gonna have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, someone will have to watch it and double check for us.
I've watched it twice, so I've double checked.
Okay, well, we'll believe you, Joe. The one about them fighting the crime, that was good. I liked that.
I do like the fact that the Velociraptor stays sort of hidden and mysterious until the climax.
It's like a really bad Jaws.
Yeah, the suit is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, you can see his head inside the suit where he's got like a weird hump in his back.
Looking at the credits, I think the guy in the suit was the director's brother as well.
Was it not just Doug?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently not. According to the credits, Zachary Steer was dinosaur suit performer. So
dinosaur suit. What's your job in this film? I'm the dinosaur suit performer. Yeah, it's got quite an important role.
Nice.
That whole end bit with the like surgery is really funny though, because I was on the assumption that she died and then she just makes a miraculous recovery.
That was because she literally had her chest.
Yeah, like she's cut open. She's given a dramatic death scene, and then afterwards are just like, oh yeah, she's fine.
No, I'm glad she came back though, because that means she'll probably make the sequel and they'll be like taking down ninjas and.
Yeah.
Well, you see, if she was going to die, it would give him like an extra motivation of vengeance, wouldn't it, for the next?
I think
film.
the parents is enough. That was quite a shock at the start. I was like, whoa.
Yes, I wasn't expecting that early.
Yeah, it would have shocked me even more. If I hadn't seen it on the kill count, because I knew it was coming, but it was still, it was like, wow, that's brutal.
Also, I do like the fact that you can tell that when he is preaching in the church, they've carefully framed the shot so they'll need as few people as possible to make it look like it's crowded. Yeah.
I mean, that's a sensible way to do it, to be fair.
Yeah, with the budget they're working with, they'd probably be only able to get it for like a few hours, wouldn't they?
Because they are using an actual church.
Oh, yeah.
Velocipastor is a very good fighter, but I think Ida would still win in a 1v1 match.
Fateful Findings was awful. Velocipastor, it was not too bad, to be fair. It was certainly better than I thought it was going to be. It would have been as bad as Fateful Findings if they hadn't made it ironically. Like if they hadn't embraced.
If it hadn't been a deliberate parody, then it would suck, but probably still suck in a funny way. But as it is, it's just
It was good, yeah.
Masterpiece. Shall we get on to final thoughts?
So final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Scorts, all that stuff.
No, it's your film.
Let's say scorts instead of scores.
Do you want to start off with your final thoughts and score? No?
Was that directed to me or Michael?
Noah. I said Noah like three times.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Sound cuts out occasionally.
Yeah, it does. So. Wow, okay, out of 10, I'm going to give it maybe a 6 or a 7 because, it's funny, but if I'm rating it against all films of all time, it certainly does get better. Out of spoof spin-off things though, it was it was like an 8 or a 9. It was funny. But yeah, my general thoughts were it was good they embraced it, and it did have a good pace to it. It wasn't slow and sluggish like Fateful Findings. And yeah, I was just generally pleasantly surprised because I saw it and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be so terrible, but it actually wasn't.
Nice. I suppose I should give mine. I think this is hilarious. I think this is absolutely hilarious. Side-splitting even, one might even say. I had a fantastic time. And I'm going to have to give this, I don't know, maybe an 8 even, 8.5. Because, it's not 9 worthy, but, still. The only thing that I'd say is that I didn't like was the sound occasionally. It was either too loud or too quiet.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I think really let it down. But other than that, 8.5. Michael, do you want to...
Yeah. I would probably give this something in the 7, 8 out of 10 kind of territory. Yeah, it's not my favourite spoof, but it is still really funny. It's quick and it's snappy and it's a short, fun watch. Probably good with friends. I reckon it's going to attain a bit of a cult status as time goes on.
Yeah.
And it is worth it as a self-aware, deliberately crap movie. I enjoyed it, and I am eagerly awaiting the sequel.
Wait. Yes. So anyway, this has been the JMC Cast, the Joseph and Michael cast, featuring our wonderful, wonderful, fabulous, brilliant, brilliant co-host Michael and Noah.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were going to say special guest.
No. Anyway, yeah, so this has been the JMC Cast. If you want to be on the JMC Cast, contact me on my social medias or Michael on his, and we will find a time slot to put you in. Our next few weeks are a bit booked, but don't worry about that. This is good night from me. And then you guys also say good night from you guys.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
See you next week. Not me, though. I won't see you next week.
Yeah, just us.
Yeah.
You're not allowed.
Just us.
That's it.
Just me and
Go.
Michael. Yeah.